everyone. Today I am going to be talking about behaviorism and B.F. Skinner invention. I will be using a PowerPoint presentation to explain my points through visual support. You can find the full script on my website, which will be linked below in the YouTube description. So, what are you waiting for? Let's get right into it. Before we start, don't forget to get out your pen and paper to take some notes. Burroughs Frederick Skinner, known simply as B.F. Skinner, is the pioneer of behaviorism, a field that explores the mechanisms behind human and animals' actions through scientific observations and experimentations. Before we move on, I would like to note that the upcoming information comes from an online lecture in Coursera called Introduction to Psychology, taught by Professor Bloom of Yale University. There are three main ideas regarding the topic of behaviorism. The first one is about how our identity and knowledge are shaped by our experiences. You can see this concept play out throughout our life as we receive the environmental stimuli and respond to them. And in turn, those stimuli changes our behavior over time. Secondly, B.F. Skinner believed in anti-mentalism, the concept that relies on true science such as observational factors, for example, stimuli and responses, rather than believing in the mind, because the mind is an intangible concept. Thirdly, B.F. Skinner believed that there is no difference across species. We all learn through the stimuli we receive from the environment, and our response to it will shape our behaviors. Now I am going to introduce you to three of Skinner's famous inventions: Skinner box, cumulative recorder, and the teaching machine. The Skinner box illustrates the concept of operant conditioning, which means that we learn the consequences of our behaviors through experiencing rewards or punishments. Let's say that you have a pet mouse and decide to put it into the Skinner box. Once inside, the mouse will naturally run around and test the different features out of curiosity. Finally, it will press the lever. If you want to experiment with positive reinforcement, then you can set up the lever in a way that the pellet dispenser will spit out food once the mouse presses on it. As time goes on, the mouse will engage in continuous reinforcement as it expects the pellet as a reward. Unfortunately, the mouse will get bored easily. With partial reinforcement, the mouse will receive the pellets after a certain amount of time. It will run on a fixed interval schedule and is more likely to have a higher rate of engagement with the task. Now, let's imagine that the electric that the mouse stands on is powered by the shock generator, so the mouse continues to suffer unless it finds a way to stop the electricity. If you want to experiment with negative reinforcement, then you can set up the lever in a way that the electric shock will halt only if the mouse presses on it. There is, however, a difference between negative reinforcement and punishment. If you want to experiment with punishment, then you can set up the lever in a way that a blast of cold wind will blow from the ceiling and discourages the mouse from repeating this action. Interestingly, the lessons that we learn from experimenting with the Skinner box are also applicable to human habits and addiction. The second invention that I am going to discuss is the cumulative recorder, which is used in conjunction with the Skinner box. Each time the mouse steps on the lever, the pen that is attached to the cumulative recorder will draw a line to document the response. The blue line that you see below is the record of simple repeated responses, where the slope represents the rate of response on average. Now I will explain what each label on this diagram means. Since the paper direction goes from right to left, I will start with a series of rapid responses. In this part, the mouse presses the lever many times as it just discovers the reward, which is the pellet, that lights up the dopamine center. As time goes on, the slope is less steep and responses are fewer. Once the not responding point is reached, the mouse has grown used to the reward and is no longer excited by the pellets. This phenomenon is known as habituation. According to a Coursera course, Introduction to Psychology taught by Professor Paul Bloom at Yale University, Habituation is defined as a declining tendency to generate a strong response toward the same stimuli. Overall, the cumulative recorder demonstrates that a subject's behavior depends on whether its responses to a stimulus is positive or negative. This concept is known as operant behavior. The third and final invention that I am going to discuss is a teaching machine, a box that applies Skinner's theories of behaviorism to enhance students' learning experiences. The function of this device is to give incremental feedback to students until they achieve a desired response, for example, solid grasp of the educational concepts. In order to attain this goal, the box runs on a system of program instruction where it provides a list of questions through a small window. If the problems are too difficult for the students, the machine will adapt accordingly until the students acquire the intended new skills. For each correct answer, the students will receive rewards. Although we have now abandoned the teaching machine, educators still adopt Skinner's theories in school. Teachers use positive reinforcements such as praises and encouragements to push students to perform better in class. We can also see a subtle example of a negative reinforcement when students get poor scores as a result of inadequate preparations for the exams. Consequently, students feel sad or upset and will continue to avoid getting into this type of situation in the future. Essentially, the teaching machine serves as a stepping stone in unlocking students' academic potential. As one of the most influential psychologists in the 20th century, B.F. Skinner has left many physical legacies in the form of inventions. His impact on behaviorism extends toward many fields, such as mental health, animal experimentation, and education. So, thank you, B.F. Skinner, for conducting scientific experiments so that we can understand the relationships between stimuli, reinforcements, and responses. Lastly, I would like to give credit to the following sources that I used to make this video and write the article on my website. Please refer to them if you need more information on B.F. Skinner and behaviorism.